Well, here's the difference between a steering wheel puller or maybe something else that's a lightweight puller and a harmonic balancer puller. I just found this thing and I says, you know, I wasn't sure if I was thinking this was the steering wheel puller, but I was thinking, well, that might work. But the difference too, besides this being a lot thicker than that, is this part. You know, you can see from there to there, these bolt, that's that long, and it's only up to there, whereas it would be going all the way up to that nut. So this goes a lot wider. So I think the last time I used this, it was on a Mopar, because I think the Mopar's got two bolts, and Chevy's got 3, I believe. I don't remember. But, you know, you might be able to get away with that, especially since that is made in the USA. That's about 40-something years old, and so is this one. It's about 40-something years old. But one thing to remember when you're using these damn things, to make sure you put grease on the threads. You want the thing to turn pretty easy, so it's not putting a lot of friction on the threads. It's just going to be pulling. And if it doesn't come out, what you want to do is sometimes put pressure on it, and you don't want to beat on a harmonic balancer or even, well, the steering wheel shouldn't be a problem. That pops right the hell off. Sometimes the harmonic balancers don't come off, but you might want to tap all around it. Not hard, not where you're putting dents in it or something, but just enough to, you know, give it a little shock, because sometimes when you're shocking something and you're pulling on it, that makes all the difference. You know, sometimes when you're pulling on something and you could turn it, you know, that makes a difference. Well, in this case, you're not going to be turning it, but because it's got a Woodruff key that holds it in place. But the deal is that, you know, if you have 2 different types of force on an object, it makes a difference. And of course, with a harmonic balancer, I don't think you'd be putting heat on that damn thing. But if it was something else that didn't have like some kind of rubber in it, and you're pulling something off and it was rusted on there, what you might want to do is, besides tapping it, penetrating oil, and using the puller, would be put some heat on it. Put on some heat on it to try to, usually what the heat does is, not on the harmonic balancer I'm talking about, but say something that was something else. What the heat does a lot of times is it breaks the rust free. That's really what it does. It's not just expanding the metal. Sometimes what it's doing is actually causing that rust to fall apart, where it's not making such a good bond, because rust is not really high strength. You know, it's not like a weld. It's just going to fall apart if you heat it up pretty good. So I'm glad I found this. 'Cause I needed it. And these things, I think, are all made in China, unless you get them from Snap-on or something. If you got something made in USA, it's going to be some serious bucks, and I don't think the quality's the same. I got some gear pullers on the way. I might have some laying around somewhere, but I don't think I have that. I'm not sure if I got one of those. Yeah, I think I do. But the only one I'm probably going to wind up using is the bigger one, the 8-inch. Comes with a set, like a 3-inch, a 4-inch, a 6-inch, and an 8-inch. The 8-inch is the only one. It's got like 3 prongs that pull it out. And in a lot of ways, you could almost make a gear puller out of this. Because if you set up a couple bolts in here like this, and you put something on the end here that can grab onto the gear, this can function as a gear puller too, if you want to make something. But for 26 bucks, I figured I'd get some damn gear pullers, but I have a feeling they're made in China. But what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? So anyway, big difference, you know, if you're looking at the thickness. You know, it's not just twice the diameter. That's like, I don't know, that's at least several times the strength. But I'll bet you this old steering wheel puller is probably at least as strong as the stuff that's coming out of China, mainland China. That's a harmonic gear puller. You know, to tell you the truth, if we ever had like a global conflict, I don't think the less people I'd actually freaking worry about is the Chinese, even though they got gazillions of freaking Chinese in the military. You know, everybody in the United States got freaking guns too, still, anyway. The Russians, man. The Russians would be the ones to watch out for, because they know what the hell they're doing. They got some fairly good quality stuff. But this thing, also you got these little, if you're pulling something out, you might want to use this. And also, you want to keep this greased. So this turns on here really good, because then you're using all the force to pull it out. You see that? Made in the freaking USA. You don't find too much of that around anymore. This one's definitely made in the USA too. I don't know if it's stamped on here, but I know it is. It definitely is. Bought this back when nothing was made in Japan, for crying out loud. This was back from the early 70s. Yeah, right here. See that? USA. See that? That's why you don't want to throw these kind of tools away. Somebody will come along, you know, like some interior decorator or some garbage, you know, like with a skirt, and she'll say, "Man, what's this junk for?" Throw it all away. And you'll never get it back again, because they don't make this stuff anymore. I don't know where the hell you would get this from, unless you spent, you know, if it cost you $25 for one made in China, this thing would probably be $125. And it's not because, it's because of the demand. What's actually increasing the price of USA goods is not just the labor, but if there's not like a huge demand for something, that increases the price. It's like akin to, like, say for instance, you know, when I bought this Chevy El Camino many years ago, over 27 years ago, I realized, you know, I like Mopar better, to tell you the truth, but I always liked Chevy, and I like Ford, I like everything, to tell you the truth, that's USA. But I knew the parts for this thing would be easy to get. Whereas a Mopar costs you twice as much money for parts, right? Although I like Mopar better than Chevy generally, but I love Chevy too. I love Ford and all those, I like all of the USA ones. But why is Mopar twice as much money? You know, Dodge, Plymouth, Chrysler? Because they don't make as many parts for them. I mean, in other words, there's not as much demand for them. So there's not a big volume. So part of the reason made in USA parts is going up in price is not the labor. It's because you just, you know, they're not making, say, I don't know, 200,000 of these or something over the next 3 years. They might make way less, you know, a fraction of that. They still got to pay the same marketing, distribution, storage, the same amount of administrative accounting fees and, you know, overhead. You still got to pay all that stuff. If you get up the volume a lot, you can bring the price down. See? That's why it's, you know, people don't buy USA that much. I try to buy some USA at least. Guess what happens? It's a cycle that just brings it down, down, down. Then it gets more like, hey, it's made in USA. It's like a dodo egg. That makes it rare. See? And then the price goes up just because there's not that much demand for it. You still got to pay all the other garbage. See? I mean, when you're operating the business, I know I'm going long on this video, but I want to explain to you something. You're operating the business, you're dealing with, you know, insurance regulations, like commercial liability, the people's life insurance, health insurance, the I-9s, the W-9s on the vendors, and I-9s for, you know, people that are coming to work for you, OSHA requirements for safety inspections, you know, whatever, you know, if you have a factory, you're making something, if you could freaking double or triple the output out of the same overhead, guess what? You can lower the price a lot. But once you get to that, if you can't quite get to that price point where the Chinese are at, and everybody you don't have much of a market, hey, what are you going to do? You know? Or if you give an example with the car, say for instance you got a 58 Ford Edsel. You know, parts on that damn thing are probably like, repo parts on that thing are way the hell up there compared to like a freaking 67 Chevy Camaro. And what are you going to do? That's not like they're gold plated. And I see, That's what happens, man. So I encourage people to try to buy USA, because we're going to be, but one of these days the whole thing's going to come to an end, one way or the other. So just want to say that. But you know, that's the difference between the two. This one is a lot lighter duty, but I don't know. Even if the fact that this is made in USA, it's probably as good as a Chinese one that's that big. I bet you. Anyway, over and out.